morning, Whoa!
What was that?
Dude, scared the hell out of me, man. What are you doing over there?
It's our 1-year anniversary.
Oh, well, right on, man.
Yeah, it's been 1 year doing this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I guess, hence episode 52, right?
Yep, there you go.
Man, I thought at first you're farting over there, man. Pulling a Giuliani on us, man. Oh, man. Well, hey, welcome everyone to episode 52 of the Coffee Squad podcast. So today we're talking about routines and are you an easy target? We know Will is definitely an easy target, and I'm probably a little bit easier. But we're going to talk about, hey, how do you defeat them? You know, I think it's a lot of things people just don't realize and think about.
Most of the time, it's really simple steps that you can take. I think, just we'll go over it, but a lot of it, I think, is just very simple, easy to do things just to kind of get that head out of your phone, But so, what are you drinking? I see you drinking something over there.
Man, I'm sure it's something. Every time we're on this podcast, I have like the green blender bottle, shaker bottle. Hear the ice. You told me last week you could hear the ice in the. When you were editing the podcast there a little bit. So yeah, so it's a keto, I don't know, drink. I dig it, man. It's pretty good. I keep losing a little more weight. I feel like I'm in that stall process. I feel like, for those of you, our Texas listeners and our barbecuers out there, if you've ever smoked a brisket, once you hit that 165 point, you kind of stall out for a little bit. You got to do the wrap or whatever. Do the Texas Crunch wrap or just wait it out. I feel like I've kind of, once I lost those 20, a little over 20 pounds, I'm just kind of sitting there for a little bit. So, but this keto little powder, it's pretty good. Of course, then I got like my water. And again, it's another green cup, but hey, there you go. I have my Waterloo. So Brian's still listening, man, still rocking water. This is black cherry. It's probably my least favorite Waterloo I have. And then I got some tea. So, hey,
goodness gracious. You're hydrating this morning.
If I have to take a break, now you know why. If you see me run out of here. So, yeah, man. All right. What are you drinking? Let's hear this coffee.
So, I'm drinking my Liquid IV. I got the strawberry flavor, which isn't my favorite. It's a little too sweet tasting for me, but I think I'm trying to fight
off a little sweetness in you there, Will.
Yeah, I'm trying to fight off a cold or something. I don't know. I feel like a truck hit me this weekend. And I'm also drinking Kirkland cold brew coffee. I went, did my quarterly Costco run and I got a nice iced coffee. I figured I'd try it. It's not bad.
How was that, man? How is Costco now with COVID, man?
I didn't have any problems. Okay. I went first thing Saturday morning, got my shopping done, in and out. Yeah, they have this new thing where you walk up and the people are there and they just click everything and then you check out yourself instead of going down the, putting it down the conveyor belt thing. So it was interesting. In and out fairly quick. Having to stay in line before it opened kind of was annoying because I don't understand that, but whatever.
Yeah. So I have a Costco membership. I haven't probably used it in years. I should probably cancel it, but I haven't been to Costco since like March, right when like COVID was first. I was in Huntington Beach. We're putting on a barbecue for like first responders and military guys, and we're grabbing all the meat and everything for it. Yep. And it was literally a madhouse. And people were complete, since this is a family show, sometimes it's really not, but we're complete buttholes, to say the least. I mean, I saw some lady screaming and yelling at a Costco worker why they ran out of toilet paper, but yet she had 3 of them already stacked up. It's like, listen, genius, they're out of toilet paper because people like you keep buying more and more of it. Yep. So that was my last time to Costco. It's like an hour and 15 minutes from my house, and it's just, for me, it's not worth the trip.
Yeah, you talk about brisket. That's actually, I smoked a brisket this weekend, and that's where I got it from, was Costco. And I definitely hit the 165 plateau at about hour 4 or 5, something like that. And I just stood there and finally kind of kicked over.
So the hell with coffee, man. We should change this to like the barbecue podcast, because I could talk about barbecue all day long. So did you wrap it? Like, did you end up wrapping it, or did you just let it?
I did wrap it the last like half hour or so. Well, hour, I guess. I wrapped it in aluminum foil. Yeah. So did like a bourbon infused coffee coffee rub.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Now tell us about those flavors, Will. Like a little hint of what was going on.
I got some garlic, salt, and pepper, black pepper, salt, garlic. Yeah, nice.
That's it.
And then I
added a little bourbon hit. Did you have?
Well, yeah, it was the bourbon. It was the bourbon coffee that I drink. So
Yeah.
I ground up the beans and I used that in my dry rub. And then
Nice.
I used a mesquite applewood mix.
Okay.
Put some mac and cheese in there, smoked the mac and cheese a little bit. It came out really good. So yeah.
See, man, now you're talking to my heart.
I got to be careful.
Coffee crap. It was like, bleh, I could care less. Talk about barbecue and some brisket. Yeah. So I have a brisket I bought I bought a quarter cow. I think I told you that a few weeks ago. I'm still waiting on the meat, but when I went to the cattle ranch there, he had a brisket in his freezer, so I'm going to do that this weekend. I normally just do salt, pepper, sometimes a little garlic, but I bought this salt and this pepper that's bourbon smoked.
Oh, okay.
And that's pretty good. And it's like the big salt crystals, man, which is awesome. So now, do you have a pellet or how do you smoke yours?
I just got that new electric smoker that I've got. So, not all of us have not all of us can do it, like you. So,
yeah. Yeah. Well, good, man. I'm glad it tasted good. I mean, you could at least, send some my way. So,
how do you know it's not already on the way?
Because it's not here yet, man. And by now, that thing is probably like cold and rubbery. Yeah. Well, good, man. Good weekend.
Yeah, not bad. So this weekend I was kind of doing some research for the show. Obviously, we kind of do our due diligence before we talk about stuff. We don't we don't usually just pull it out of our back end. We kind of know what we're talking about. But I was watching a video, and it was a compilation video of people just sitting there on their cell phones walking down the street, and they were running into trash cans, light poles, and other people. One guy almost fell down a hole that was open to it's just like, how are these people still alive? That's like Darwinism.
So is it wrong
right?
with me that
selection.
I wish that he would have fallen down there, that hole?
Natural. No, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's kind of weed out the weaker of the species.
So those of you who do know me and listen to this show, like Tim and some others, and then there's others who just have no clue who I am. I'm kind of known to be a jerk, and that's putting it lightly sometimes. So when I first lost my leg at Walter Reed, there's this little ramp. So like from my hospital room where I was staying down to the physical therapy center that's called the Matsy there, I'd cruise, and I usually had one of my sons. They were young, real young at the time, little babies. And I can't tell you like how many, doctors and just hospital workers there, same thing on their cell phones, just not paying attention or just talking, like talking to their friend. And as I'd go pretty fast, but there's like, my goal was always to like, all right, there's a lot of colonels walking around there, like get them, just clip them just right so they fall on my lap in the wheelchair. And I'm telling you, I would probably pick one off a week, and my wife would just shake her head like, what is wrong with you? But it was just fun. And now we're talking about situational awareness. I think I taught him a lesson about situational awareness. Watch out for
the little bit of a jerk Green Beret that's in his wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean, they used to call me Lieutenant Dan, but yeah. Zero cares at that point in time in my life. So
zero something to give. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, and what do you mean at that point in your life? What are you talking about?
So they were easy targets. As we're talking.
I've seen you with the shopping cart in the shopping center trying to run people over.
When have we gone shopping together? Is my memory that bad?
No, never.
Oh, now you're making stuff up. See, you talk about pulling stuff out of your butt. Now you're making stuff up. So, as Will was saying, let's talk about how to not be an easy target, how to stay away from jerks like me in a wheelchair or other people I know that, hey, if you're walking down the street, I mean, I can't tell you like how many times you see this when you're walking, like do. Oh, yeah. My brother-in-law will slap their phones out of their hands.
Surprised you don't.
Well, I don't want to be liable for the cell phone. I've grown up. I've matured a little bit, maybe. Probably not. But
I mean, your wife probably has a good influence, has become a better influence on you, is what that is.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So,
all right. So you always hear about situation and knowing your surroundings. So, how do you do it? Well, this is to me the simplest one, right? But go ahead. I'll let you explain how you do it.
So I think most military and law enforcement people, do this just naturally. They've been in long enough where they don't trust their surroundings. I think a great example is going to a restaurant. Anywhere I go, especially restaurants, I don't like having my back to the door. Now, I don't mind if, hey, Will's sitting there or another buddy of mine who I guess I trust is there, but I hate having my back to the door. I want to watch. I want to watch what's going on. And honestly, like any little movement out of my peripheral vision, I'm always looking. And that's something that I don't think will ever go away. A good little funny story is when my wife and I were first dating, we were out in your neck of the woods there, Will, out by the beach. There's a great restaurant called Tower. Is it Tower 54 out there? And
maybe
little Mexican place, like it's right down there. And she thought I was checking out this waitress, but
yep.
Like where we were, there was so much moving going on back and forth that I kept looking. And so she got a little perturbed and I had to explain what was going on. And, for people who aren't used to it, it could look or think that, hey, you're checking someone out or it's just unnerving and sometimes uneasy for people. So so that's one good example of just knowing your surroundings. Just, I call it the 360. So if you're in a restaurant, if you're just sitting there by yourself, I always say, look at the exits, look at entries and exits, always know where they are. Not just a restaurant, any building you go into. And I think, I don't want to call it the war on terror, but with the radicals that are out there now, whether it's Islamic radicals or whatever radical, know your surroundings, know who's around you, and know of an exit plan, know how to get out of there if you have to leave. So
I know I've gone out a lot of people and they're like, are you even paying attention to me? Are you bored? Because I'm constantly scanning and looking left, right, and stuff like that, so it does get a little unnerving for some people if they're not used to it. But after a while, if they hang out with you enough, they know what's going on. And like now, if I go to a restaurant with my buddies, they know where I'm going to sit. They don't even sit down. They're like, where do you want to sit? They usually ask me now because they know I'm going to be like, I want to sit there.
Yeah.
But the exits is a good thing because most people don't think about that. They just walk in, sit down, and that's it. So once you walk in, it's always good to have, restaurants always have an exit out the kitchen. So there's one, there's usually 2 to 3 more somewhere around there. So it's always good to just kind of know your lay of the land. So if something does hit the fan, you can get out of there quick. And I know people think I'm paranoid because I do that, but.
Well, you are paranoid, Will. I mean, you always try to bring up conspiracy theories and other stuff. I mean,
if it's true that they're out to get you, are you paranoid?
Yeah, but Will, like before the show, you take off your little aluminum metal hat that you wear all the time, man.
No, I have the ceiling lined, so it doesn't work. I don't have to wear that anymore.
There you go. So I think another thing too is that people. So if you live in a big city, right, or any city, you're walking around a downtown or anywhere, I think a good rule of thumb, and again, this is my old military training kicking in, but I'd always look at like windows, storefront windows, right? Okay, like am I being followed? Is there a tail on me? And so I think that now that I've gotten out, I don't do it nearly as much, but I used to look in like storefront windows or when I'd cross the street. There's certain techniques you can use to cross the street. And just, I think that situational awareness, well, you've said this quite a bit, is you don't want to be an easy target. Most crime that would happen to your average person is probably, some type of petty type crime, a robbery, theft, something like that. If you're a woman, possibly stealing your purse or something like that. So if you can not make yourself an easy target, that's the best. So if you look in store windows, right? Like, hell, I just saw this guy 2 blocks over, a little odd that he's here. And if you walk a few more blocks and you've kind of done some zigging and some zagging, and he's still there, I'd probably go hang out in the store for a little while.
Yep.
Just, that there's coincidence and then there's not coincidence anymore. So, look at store windows, look at car windows. Cars are great. You can look. So anything that has a reflection it's kind of a little cheat. Look, if you're a female or you like to smoke, another good thing is like, act like you're going to turn around and put on some lipstick because it's the wind. Something like that. or if you smoke, turn around to light your cigarette or your pipe or whatever it is. So, maybe bend down, tie your shoe, and kind of look around you. So just do what kind of fits in so you're not a little too crazy. I know we do sound a little bit crazy right now, but it's really just about being vigilant.
So I was doing a role-playing exercise, and I thought for sure this guy was following me. I saw him, and one day I saw him at 3 different places that I went to, and I thought for sure, oh, he's following me. He's got to be one of the guys that, he's part of the deal. And it came to find out he had nothing to do with it. It's just that we had similar interests. So he was at this, because I was going to different restaurants and breweries and stuff like that, and that's where he was at every time. And he stood out. So I was like, I was fighting with myself. I was like, he stands out too much to really, probably be what I think he is. But then again, I saw him like 4 times. So ended up being nothing, just coincidence. So you do kind of get a little,
I mean, I did a counter surveillance course along some other stuff in my military career, and you'd be surprised, mother-daughter surveillance teams on here, grandparents,
but when you know that there's a possibility, when you're in that kind of in that world, you definitely start to see some shadows.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in REI, like this mother-daughter, I was like, so then I went upstairs, and then like 2 minutes later, they were up there. I was like, gotcha. And then, from there for what I was doing in the military, I was just, we call it a pattern of life. So just act normal until you don't want to act normal anymore. So, Will, I know you mentioned, distractions, right? There's nothing more distracting today than that cell phone. If you're out on the street, like, look, who's not guilty of walking down the street, having a phone conversation? Please don't be one of those idiots that, yes, I called you an idiot, without put your phone on speaker and walks down the street. No one wants to hear a conversation. So you're laughing, but it's true, Will.
Oh, I know. I there's somebody that used to live with me that was like that. So yeah.
I freaking hate it, man. Or your music. But yeah, so put the cell phone down. A cell phone's an easy distractor. It's fine to have a quick conversation, but
even if you're talking, it's not that bad because you can look. When you're on your phone watching, like my daughter's the worst for it. It drives me nuts. She'll sit there and she'll watch a video and walk, and like the other day she fell off the chair because she went to sit down and she was too busy, too distracted on the phone, and she only got half a cheek on, and boom, she fell off the chair. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Like,
it sounds like she needs to go to Walter Reed and have an angry midget in a wheelchair. Give her an awareness check.
There you go. So once again, these are all pretty easy stuff, just kind of look, listen, feel, put your cell phone down, distractions, but being vigilant. I think that's the hardest one for me, is because complacency sets in, especially when you're at home and you're at work and you're more comfortable. So what kind of tips would you have for being vigilant?
I would just know your surroundings. Always look. Look, I'm not a big guy. I'm fat now, but I'm 5'7". On a good day, maybe 5'7.5", depending on my prosthetic, but at least on the right side. However, I'm not a big guy. And so I've been in some sketchy parts of this country and other parts of the globe, and one thing that I can tell you is, if you act like you know what you're doing, and this isn't a cure-all and a know-all be-all, but if you act like you know what you're doing, you walk with confidence. I don't care if you're male or female. Can we say that anymore? Are we non-binary?
I don't know. I mean, Mr. Potato Head is no longer Mr. It's just Potato Head. So I
digress. But just walk with a purpose, and just look around you. You don't have to do the head swivel every 10 seconds, but hey, just look around and don't make yourself an easy target. Look, if you're in a foreign country, or hey, New York City to me is a foreign country now. Chicago, some of these major cities, Miami, Dallas, Houston, any of them, don't make yourself an easy target. If know where you put stuff. And look, a lot of people, a lot of Americans live in these cities. And I can tell you, if you watch how the locals act. Look, if you're traveling to an unknown city, whether it's domestic or foreign, look at the locals. See where do they put their wallet? Where do they put their phone? Most of them will kind of give you an indication of what's going on around you and talk to people, read up before you travel. So to me, it's just, I call it having your head on a swivel. And so just look around, act like you walk with a purpose. You can always tell someone who's a cop or military, besides the way they dress and what watches and stuff they wear, by the way they walk. There isn't one of us who doesn't walk like we have a purpose. It's almost like the get out of my way walk. I'm going from point A to point B. And that's why I try to tell people, look, if you want to kind of broaden your stature in your presence, walk with a purpose.
Yep. Confidence, good. Just oozing that confidence. A lot of victims are victims of opportunity. And just like in the wild, the predator is going to pick off the weakest link, right? So if you're looking like you're timid and scared and don't know what you're doing, you're kind of exuding that possible not victim shaming or anything. And don't get me wrong here, but just don't make yourself a target by acting like a victim, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'd say, so identify objects around you, right? What's around you? What did you just let one loose?
No, my dog did.
Oh, yeah. I thought, we're going back to the Rudy Giuliani thing here. Oof. But identify what's around you, get used to that. And then look at other people. I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier. What are they doing? How are they acting? We've already talked about identifying entry and exit points, and then predict. This is one thing I tell people, again, I think this is my military in me and numerous combat deployments is whenever I was walking on patrol, wherever we're going, even if we're going to hit a hard target that we knew, I was always looking, okay, if X happens, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to move to, and I'm constantly walking and thinking that, okay, hey, if they open up from the left or they open from the front, right, left, or rear, I'm going to go to this point, or that point. And so I think that can kind of drain you mentally, but kind of getting that thing, hey, if this happens, right, I'm going to go here. A lot of people, I'm guilty of it. When you're driving, how many of you can come to a stoplight are kind of right up on the person's bumper right in front of you? Give yourself at least 10 plus feet. So if something were to happen, or someone wanted to get in your car or, look, how many people, I'm so guilty of this. I'm sitting at the stoplight at a traffic light and I'm like looking on my phone or, doing something, but look in your rear view mirror, every few seconds, hey, look at the sides, look left and look right and look behind you. What's going on around you? So you can get out of a bad situation and then give yourself that space that you need to.
Yeah. So I think driving is a good kind of example of how to kind of look ahead and keep your head on a swivel, because most people, I know some people who drive like this. Most people don't, right? You're not looking at the front of your hood or a couple feet in front of you. You're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 car lengths ahead of you, depending on how fast you're going and stuff. You want to know what's coming, not what's there. And I think that's a good way to kind of have that mentality when you're walking or whatever you're doing in your life, to kind of get that situational awareness going. But one thing you did say, and obviously you were in a combat zone, so you had to be kind of hyper vigilant. How do you balance being vigilant without becoming hyper vigilant? Because I know a lot of times people tell me that I'm just too high strung and too out there when I'm out doing stuff. It's a lot better now, but
it's because you're a weirdo.
Could be, yeah.
But no, so I think every situation is another military thing here. I mean, I feel like I'm regurgitating some like principles of training almost. But common sense, right? Know your surroundings. Everything's dependent on
common sense. Isn't common, unfortunately.
That's true. But know your surroundings. The more you know your surroundings, the more in tune you are with them, the better off you are in understanding the situation around you. And as situations develop, I think another thing is trust yourself.
Oh yeah, you get those little hairs on the back of your neck standing up. Something doesn't feel right. Get out of there.
Yeah. Look, if you're walking, I don't use major cities, but like Huntington Beach or wherever, some of these smaller towns, or if you're in a small little town like mine, if you feel like something's not right, go into a more public area. Jump into a coffee shop, a restaurant, a bookstore. COVID, things are starting to open up a little bit more and more. So jump into those places. Look, I don't suggest walking down an alley in the Bronx that you have no clue what's going on. at 1 a.m. You know, probably not the smartest idea by yourself, or anywhere. You could put that in any city that you want. So, but trust that gut instinct, or the hairs on the back of your neck. It's there for a reason, and I can't tell you how many times that's kept me alive. Even driving. Like, again, trust yourself. Like, hey, if you get that instinct of, hey, you know what, I need to slow down, or hey, whatever. I mean, my wife tells me this every once in a while, like, hey, I was driving, I just got this gut instinct of like, hey, I need to stop, like, and she did, or wait. Last one was like, wait, she light turned green, and she was like, just wait. And she did, and semi blew the red, a red light. So I think trusting your instincts is a good thing. And then we always talk about practice. Practice this stuff. I know we're throwing a lot at you, to our listeners and viewers out there, but practice it as you're driving. Motorcycle drivers, when I had my motorcycle, I did it quite a bit. Like Will was talking about driving. It's like, all right, look forward, look right, look left, look at my side mirrors. Okay. And I do that probably like every 20 seconds. And that kind of has you pay attention more to who's a crummy driver, who's not paying attention, what's going on around you. So
especially as a motorcycle, motorcycles,
So situational awareness can apply to any aspect of your life.
So I want to kind of talk about parking, because I know I had a couple people talk to me about parking. So just I wanted to talk about some tips on parking. I know it sounds silly, but that's a very high likelihood of a crime especially during holiday season and stuff like that. So let's cover a little bit about parking before we kind of move on to work routines and stuff like that. So what kind of precautions do you take when you park? I just park in the fire zone and walk in, right?
Yeah, why not? I do see that often out here, by the way, at some of the grocery stores. Drives me nuts.
Yep.
So, let's talk about, the situation, right? Are you talking about a mall? Are you talking about a grocery store, strip mall? Is it raining? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Again, these are all factors that, is it a high crime area? Is it a low crime area? So when I tell people, like, when you park, like, it may sound weird, but I always drive around like the outer lot real quick. Let's say it's a grocery store. Out here we have Harris Teeter, you have Lowe's, you have Food Line, and a few others, but they all have pretty, decent size depending on the size of the store, but the lot. So just cruise the lot, or, hey, if you're coming in on high ground, you can kind of scan the lot. You don't always have to drive it. I think stores are getting better where you're not seeing the bushes and the shrubs in between.
Yep.
I know malls have that quite a bit because it's the aesthetics. So look, if you're going to park where there's shrubs, kind of separating some of the parking areas, definitely do a drive-by. Hey, again, growing up in California, we had a lot of homeless people, and I tell this to my mom, who's older, and my dad and my sisters, like, hey, like, cruise by there. If there's a homeless person there, maybe pick another place, where you don't have to walk by them, where someone's a little sketchy.
Not that being homeless is bad or anything, but you don't want to open yourself up to being a victim, because not everybody has good intentions. I think this is a good example. I think this is a really good example of kind of some things to do to help avoid being a victim. This goes back to SEPTED with the bushes and stuff like that. You're seeing a lot of towns and stuff move away and have ordinances to where you can't put those big, thick bushes that hide people anymore. So a lot of the new developments around here, they have the 10 or the 6 foot, 2 foot rule, going on. So you can't have anything over 2 feet if it's lower, higher than 6 foot if it's high, or lower. Yeah. So
I think another thing is lighting. If it's day, nighttime or getting dusk, we're heading into springtime here. And so lights, it's staying a little bit lighter, but lights, have your car illuminated, right? Have your area around you illuminated. People really, I know you're finishing up the crime prevention through environmental design, the SEPTED course, and I know they talk a lot about lighting.
Yeah, I feel almost like a lighting expert after that course. But so evil likes darkness, right? They don't want to be seen. So the more lit up it is, the lower probability you're going to have something happen to you, right? I mean,
I feel like you just got out of church, Will.
Why is that?
You said evil likes darkness, man. I thought you were going to start giving us a sermon.
No, huh? So, but lighting's really good. You want to make sure, as you're circling a lot, you want to see if there's any trees, canopy covering your lights or anything like that, any lights that are busted or not working, stuff like that. I always park in the light or underneath the light when I can, or close to it, because that's just, I don't know. It's just kind of what I do all the time. Another thing I look for is, I say escape routes, but the entry exit points. There's going to be multiple different entries and exits depending on where you're at. You go to the mall up in Raleigh, that feels like a maze to me sometimes, or maybe the Durham one. I don't know, but it feels like a maze trying to get in and out of there. So it's always good to kind of know how to get. So if something does go down, you know where you're going and how to get out. So you're not trying to jump over a center concrete barrier or something like that.
Yeah. Also, where are you parking? Are you parking where there's a sign on a metal pole where you only can go one way? Again, you can't control who's going to park in front of you. And then we call it tactical parking, where you back into the parking spot. So you can, when you hop in, you can get out real quick. I don't do that. I know a lot of guys who do. For me, I can reverse just as fast as I can go forward, but and it's a comfort level for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Do you
I usually do the pull through. So I just find a double space that's empty and I'll pull through. So
yeah,
that's
we're talking situational awareness, and how many cops were killed over the last 2 years, sitting in their cruisers.
Oh yeah.
Because some thug, and I will call him a thug and not apologize for it, comes up from behind and shoots them. Yeah. Is it their fault? Absolutely not. I'm not saying it's the cop's fault at all. However, situational awareness can literally save your life depending on what profession you're doing, or if you're just the average person.
You think about it, most patrol cars, that's their office. So they're sitting there doing paperwork, working on the computer. They're doing stuff. They're working. Think about when you're at your office. Are you looking back behind you, and this is in the middle of the night, and you're in a car and in the cover of darkness? So
yeah.
I know when there were higher levels of threats, our department would have us kind of buddy up and have one person sit next to the other one, kind of watch out for them while they're doing stuff.
Kind of facing one way, a little.
Yeah. So park in a well-lit parking lot in the middle of the parking lot so you can see anything approaching, and then have, essentially 360 between the two of you.
I think that's awesome. I don't know if you notice it sometimes, but like I have an office window right here, and then my backyard's behind me, but my office window, I can see who's coming up, approaching the house from one of the streets there. And every time I see a car, I look, or I see someone walking, I'm kind of like, all right, who is that? And I live on a little circle, so there's not a lot of traffic. So it's like, okay, and I bought on a circle for a reason, so situational awareness isn't just, when you're out and about. You can also be at your home. I think the Ring doorbells and those systems there, that's providing the homeowner with a little bit of extra situational awareness of, hey, who's at my front door, who's approaching it. So,
oh yeah, I live on a cul-de-sac, and my office overlooks my driveway, so I see everybody driving by. So I'm always looking out the window now.
Yeah. So you're home. We spend a lot of time at home, so I think you should have situational awareness at your house. What's abnormal. Yeah, at your home, what normal is, and in your neighborhood. I walk the neighborhood. Today is a crappy, like rainy, nasty day. But I walk my neighborhood quite. It's about to get nasty, homie. Yeah. So I walk the neighborhood. I walk my dog, and I always look. Okay, hey, that house is for sale, or hey, they're doing construction on this house. So I don't. This is part of the 101 series, trying to break it down. It's not complicated. It's just if you take anything away from today's podcast, it's just be aware, what's normal, what's abnormal, and then have a plan.
Well, that's what's good about, kind of at your house, you're used to everything. So if something stands out, that should stand out to you more. So it should be a little easier for you to pick up on something that's different. Now, to me, you want to feel safest in your castle, right? So you want to be able to kind of let your guard down. So that's why I have my dog. My dog, if she hears a squirrel fart across the street, she goes crazy. So anything that's happening, my dog lets me know. So I don't have to really worry about that. So that's kind of one of my safeguards. You know, I can relax when I'm at home. I don't have to be quite as vigilant and aware. I can kind of just zone out a little bit because I do have my protection, right? My security system.
Yeah. So I think that's a good point too. You know, your home is your sanctuary. However, how would you feel if your sanctuary was broken into?
Yeah.
You know, my parents' home has been broken into, you know, I think once or twice, maybe a little bit more there, as a crime pop wave goes up in where they live, and the homeless population keeps getting more and more. And you know, for my mom, she's not as bad as other people that I've talked to who've had their home broken into where they felt like it's an invasion of their privacy. Mm-hmm. Not that she doesn't feel that way, but it's not as significant or as severe. I know other people who their house has been broken into and that house is on the market within a month, you know, because they just, that trust and that feeling they can't shake. So,
so a lot of reports I would take, people were more upset about the loss of their privacy and that invasion of their comfort than what was actually taken, you know, because most of the things taken, they can get, you know, you can get back through insurance. It was just that violations that they felt that somebody came into their house and did that to them. So, so, work routines. Now we're going to talk a little more about routines, especially at work. So, you know, they say work routines are good and bad. What's kind of your feeling on that?
I think with COVID right now, a lot of people are working from home, but we're starting to see again stuff starting to lift a little more, and so you're going to start going back to work. So it's a good time to think about that routine. You know, and look, I'm not saying change your routine up significantly, because humans and just animals in general are natures of habit. And so I know when I'm off my routine, I feel like I'm in a downward spiral.
It throws you off a little bit.
Yeah. I'm just like, how do I rebound? But, you know, maybe it's, you know, change it up. Maybe don't leave every day at the exact same time and take the exact same route getting to and from work.
I always try to take 2 or 3 different routes when I'm out doing stuff. And it's not so bad now because I'm not going to work. I work from home. But when I was going to work, I had 2 or 3 different routes I would take. And it was more just to kind of keep me from zoning out.
Well, right? That's it. Because you start getting that monotony.
You start getting that highway hit. I used to have to commute, you know, 50 minutes each way to work. And after working a 12-hour night shift, you know, I started zoning out real easy. So I had to make sure I was keeping my routine kind of fresh so I wouldn't drive the same way and, you know, fall asleep and who knows what's going to happen. So,
you know, give yourself enough time as well.
Yeah.
You know, traffic could be bad on one route you're going to take, or you're going to take a little bit of a longer route in the morning. And then look, if you don't work from home, or, you know, if your house is empty during the 9 to 5 kind of hours, or 8 to 5, whatever it is that you work, people are always watching. Hopefully you have good neighbors that are watching your house, but other people are watching as well. Whether it's a gardener, a construction crew that gets at your neighbor's house, or someone across the street at 7 o'clock, and they're watching and they're looking like, okay, hey, now I got an easy target. And so if you can kind of switch things up, you know, maybe put something on a timer, you know, a little radio or something. If you have, you know, something that can kind of put some noise on, you know, at various times. Again, a dog's a great thing, alarm system as well, but try to vary your routine going to and from work during those hours of work. And then while you're at work, you know, I always, you know, workplace violence, that's a big subject. And, you know, I get a lot of people asking, well, you know, what can I do to prevent it? Well, sometimes just, you know, suicide, you know, I've had numerous buddies that committed suicide, and leading up to it, I didn't see the signs. And then afterwards, we're all talking and we're like, oh man, this and that. So look for those signs in your other coworkers. You know, someone going through a divorce, are they financially struggling? Are they struggling at their job and they may lose their job? You know, there's numerous things out there. Are they drinking a little bit more? Maybe they're on some kind of stimulant, whatever it is. You know, sometimes there's tells of like, hey, something's all right, and just talk to the person. You know, I think most of the time, if I know someone's going through, just talk to them, man. Show a little bit of compassion. But then again, in those spidey senses, something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know, maybe bring it up to a supervisor.
Well, you talk about your routine and workplace violence. If you're getting your coffee at 8:15 every morning, once you get to the office or whatever, and everybody knows that the break room is full at 8:15, then that could be that become a target for somebody who wants to commit some sort of violent act. And then, so it's not bad to have a routine because it helps you stay on task, but don't be so reliant on it and have it edged that you can't adapt and kind of shift if something comes up, right? Because I know I like to keep my routine just so it helps me remember stuff. But I have now started setting timers and alerts and everything just to keep me out of that routine, because I don't want to get so reliant on it. Especially in our job, something pops up that I'm like, oh no, I can't do it because I have all this other stuff. Right. So,
yeah. I also think, we've talked about entry and exit ways, but know your entry and exits at your workplace. If you work in a high-rise building, if there is an emergency, I'd ask your employer, hey, do we have what's our workplace violence program like? What are the details to it? Not just do we have one, but what are the details to it? Do the stairwells, will they lock down where you have to manually push to get out? What happens? And so then understand that as much as possible. And I'd also push one step further is, practice that workplace violence scenario, once a
even
year,
if you don't do it physically, do it in your head. I know I would run through a ton of scenarios when I was active as a police officer. Like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do if this happens. This is what I'm going to do if this happens. Just running through that mental scenario helps too. Like you said, it can be kind of exhausting, but obviously in certain careers and in certain environments, you're going to have a little more danger. So you should probably spend a little more time doing it. Right. My biggest, not concern, but I guess issue is, how do you balance convenience with security, being cautious versus being paranoid, hypervigilant versus vigilant? How can you kind of balance that out? Because I know I think I've got a pretty good balance now, but for years it was hard. I was way overstimulated when I'd go out and stuff. So
it's tough, and again, depending on your background, right? What have you done? What was your environment like for X amount of years? Driving over on the highway or a bypass, if I saw a stacked thing of rocks even here in the US, I'm like, my heart would flutter a little bit, like, oh, ID marker, right? Or looking on the overpass. And I think the more you get away from it, the more desensitized you become to it. But then, so what I try to tell people is like, look, understand what are the threats to you, and what are what's the surrounding threats. And then if you can do all you can, look, you can't mitigate every single threat. Bad stuff happens to good people sometimes. That's just, it's an ugly side, an ugly fact of life, of just stuff happens. However, what we're talking about on the show and what we have been talking about is, hopefully ways to help prevent that stuff from happening. Hopefully you aren't that easy target. Not that we want anyone a target. But Will, you kind of brought up the National Geographic, like herd predator scenario. The lion and the tiger, they're not going to go after the biggest, the fastest animal in that pack. They usually go for the younger, weaker, or old, frail one. And so, or the ones just not paying attention. How many times have you seen the alligator video, the crocodile videos, and that animal's just sitting there just drinking like it. Kind of reminds me of like, man, I'm just so thirsty, and like not even paying attention. You're just chugging with animals, just drinking, and then wham, that crocodile or alligator will come up and get them. And so, if you can just kind of think of like, hey, am I paying attention to what's around me? I think that's probably the best. Am I an easy target, or am I a hard target? Be a hard target.
So for me, the balance comes where I do everything I can that won't interfere with what I'm doing, if that makes sense, right? I'm not going to change where I'm going or what I'm doing because I'm too afraid to go there, but I will take the precautions to be able to go there and feel secure enough that if something does happen, I know how I'm going to handle it or what I'm going to do. So it's just,
and I think that leads into, I think it's next week's conversation too of, protecting yourself. I get a question a lot. Oh, should I go get a gun? Well, my question to half those people are, should you own a gun?
Yeah.
Yes, gun ownership is a right in this country. But in my opinion, not everyone should own a gun. Are you mature enough? Do you have the responsibility enough? Are you going to train? Lackadaisical. I mean, there's so many things we're going to talk about next week, but besides owning a gun, a taser, pepper spray, bear spray, a whistle, a keychain. I wish I had my keychain on me right now, but I have like this awesome bottle opener. I don't even drink, but I have this awesome bottle opener that has a sharp pointy in at the end. Keys can be a great weapon in between the knuckles, to punch someone with. So think about stuff like that. Hey, are you a fighter or not a fighter? Are you in a high crime area? And do you walk to and from? So maybe you may want to go take some self-defense classes. And I'm not going to sit here, and I don't think, Will, you're going to sit here and say, hey, you should take Krav Maga over a jiu-jitsu class. Like, I don't really care what you take. Just take something so you know how to protect yourself. Get someone off you for a few minutes before help can get to you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool conversation next week. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Like Jake said, we're going to be talking about home protection and stuff like that. Well, we're obviously going to talk about guns, but other things, like he said. Anything else you want to talk about before we close this out? Because it looks like we're getting close to the end.
I think we're good. I think everyone gets the point. Know your surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't be over paranoid. Just be who you are, just a little bit more security conscious. And I think that will help you in all aspects of your life, whether it's at home, going to and from work, picking up the kids from school, the grocery store, the mall, anywhere. Just kind of know what's around you. And if you get that weird feeling, say something, speak up.
Just pay attention is like, just knowing your surroundings and paying attention is like 90% of it, honestly. I mean, just having that awareness will reduce and prevent so much that could possibly happen to you.
And hey, if you're on your cell phone, like looking at videos, walking down the street, just know you're wrong. And then, expect someone like me in a wheelchair to come up and run you over and then put you on my lap, and we're going to go for a cruise around the block or something. So.
All right, guys. So once again, thank you for all your support. Go ahead and like us and follow us on our YouTube channel, the Coffee Squad Podcast. Go to coffeesquadpodcast.com. You can find all of our content there. Next week, we're talking about home protection. This is our 1-year anniversary. So, hey, appreciate all your support. If you guys want to give us a shout out or congratulations, always love to hear that. Tim, it's always good to hear your comments on YouTube. So,
yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks for blowing me up, bud. Appreciate it, man.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.